Okay, we got to have a little bit of tough love time. And I want to talk to you about three myths that I think mostly hold people back from pursuing or saying yes or really going after the big jobs, especially you ladies. And first, we have to talk about the compromise calculation. The compromise calculation is something almost everybody runs through their head. And it's this perception that there is a hard coded, negatively correlated line in between your career success and everything else in your life. Meaning, if your career success goes up, your relationships, your health, your even who you are is compromised. And there's something I believe so strongly, it doesn't have to be that way. So, what are the three myths and how can you think about them a little bit differently? The first is people think that climbing the ladder means more work. And most people are pretty freaking burnt toast already. So, it's like, how in the heck am I going to take on more? Here's the thing, if you take a step up and you're actually working harder, it means you're leading worser. What that means is it's just different. Yes, the issues you have are bigger, sometimes the fires you have to fight. But if you're still putting together all the PowerPoints and you're going to the big meetings and you're doing new responsibilities, that means you haven't slowed the frick down and been a good leader. And so when I was climbing the ranks, I wasn't necessarily in some cases I was doing less PowerPoints in my bed at 10 o'clock at night than I was before because I had people to do that and I led them and delegated and did that. So I want you to dispel that myth. If you're doing that, you're doing something wrong. The second myth is that you have to change for the job, that you have to become somebody, you have to have executive presence, and you have to become this person that you're not. Here's the thing, you don't have to change for the job. You can actually change the job. What I mean by that is, what we do, and I did this at first, is we look at the others. Some of these are some old white dudes, not always, but there's also a lot of women that portray this sort of being, and we feel like we have to become them. And what I teach and preach is actually, if you can buck that, if you can lead with more authenticity, if you can create better connections, you can be more vulnerable, you can tell more stories, you're going to be a better leader. Because just stop and think for a second. Which leader would you rather work for? Which leader would you do more for? Which leader would you follow to the ends of the earth? Yes, it's the authentic one. And so I want you to remember, don't change for the job. You can actually change the job, change the way it's done, lead with more authenticity. It takes a little cojones at first because that might feel weird. It feels very protective for you to go in and act polished because then that's the facade of all the like little things that you don't know, which is a bunch of crap. Be yourself, be authentic. That's how you're going to have success. And then the third one is that we think we have to have it all figured out. That if we don't have the job skills, if we've never, I hear this one all the time. Oh, I just don't know enough about P&L management or the financials. Neither did I. I still don't. And I was an actuarial student to start, but I had a CFO. I learned it. I asked questions. And now I run my own business and I still can't remember what to do. The reality is you only need to know about half, and in fact is better if you only know about half. Use the 50% rule, which was my second book, which says that anytime you're doing something new or learning from somebody, only do about half normal and then do half new, meaning throw out the crap that feels inauthentic, that you don't want to do, that feels old and crusty, and then bring in the half that's your new ideas. And that's so much easier to do if you don't go into a role that you've been grooming yourself for 20 years. So I want you to put aside this myth about the compromise calculation, these myths about having to work harder or become somebody you're not. And instead, I want you to think about, how can I go into these positions and actually be the leader that I'd want to follow?